What is up, everybody? Welcome to day 10 of the All About How podcast. I am your host, John Knott from growingau.com. Glad you guys are joining us here for day 10 of the 365-day podcasting experiment, where we are uploading a podcast every single day for a year to answer the question, does more content equal more followers? If this is your first time joining us today, welcome. If you're returning, thanks for coming back. Look forward to talking to you guys today. So let's roll the intro and jump into this value-packed episode.
It's all about how in 2020 we're going to leave the world a better place than we found it.
All right, so I want to say it's incredible. We are finally a 2-digit podcast. Never again will we be a 1-digit podcast. We've done it for 10 days now, coming up on 2 weeks here. It does not feel that long, but it also feels way longer at the same time. It's weird. It just has become such a natural part of the daily schedule, and I think that's awesome because it's going to make it really, really easy to continue to do this for the term of a year. All right, what are we talking about today? Well, this is one of those days where I'm just in the middle of a lot. I'm getting a lot of stuff done today for my other channel, 2 Leaks, which is a cooking channel. If you don't know what that is, or if that's something that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and check us out at YouTube on 2 Leaks, also on Instagram, also on Facebook, soon to be on different podcasting platforms as well. So I'll keep you up to date as that stuff goes live. I'm actually posting the first podcast on 2 Leaks tomorrow. It's going to be our Sizzlecast, and that's going to be going live on all the podcasting platforms. So 2 Leaks, definitely go ahead and check us out. But I'm doing a lot for them today, as well as keeping some stuff moving here on the AU network, on growingau.com, stuff like that. And I've just been thinking a lot about change, thinking a lot about adaptation, thinking a lot about how things happen. And I went for about 3 walks yesterday. Depending on when you're listening to this podcast will depend on how things are around you. But where I am right now, we are on a shelter-in-place order due to, obviously, the pandemic that is going across the world. And we're on a shelter-in-place order, but we can still walk. So I went for like 3 walks yesterday with family members and stuff like that. We were having good conversations, and we were talking about change and how to inspire change. And I believe it might have been Jordan Peterson who said it. I could be completely full of crap on that one and not even know what I'm talking about, but someone once said that you inspire change at the lowest level. And what I love about that, and actually that might have been one of my dad's coworkers, you inspire change at the lowest level. And what I think is so incredible about that is how all of us, we talked about the other day about like creative industrialism and just the ability to create and how you can't really do that anymore, but you have to just do it. And we talked about all this type of stuff. And then we also did the review of Ray Dalio's book Principles yesterday. So if you didn't see that video, definitely go check that out. But in there, we talked about solving problems at the root cause. And ultimately, I think when we're talking about inspiring change from the lowest level, and we look at solving problems at the root cause, I mean, there's no lower level than the root, right? You can have a 50-foot tall, sprawling, invasive vine growing on the side of your building. You could start chopping it down from the top if you really want to, but I would rather just go for the roots, clip it there, and have it be done. So we're talking about inspiring change at the lowest level. I think that's a very easy example to look at that. And so we talk about just creating for the sake of creating, but also the ability to share that with the world. And what I like about channels like us, channels that aren't like super huge yet, is we have the ability to inspire change within the community because we have the ability to come together and grow together. We talked about the other day listening to smaller podcasts, listening to smaller YouTube channels, reading smaller blogs to help give some support to the people who are putting out really great stuff, but just not yet necessarily being found yet. And talk about the change that you would be inspiring at that level to then help those people move up, and then hopefully those people will then reciprocate that help and help you move up as well. So it's something I've been thinking about as I've been making some changes with 2 Leaks. We've been making some adjustments to our marketing strategy, mostly simply to just do things because we love to do them. We had some ideas because it's like cooking channel, as I said, we had some ideas of things we wanted to do, and mostly those things kind of got pushed out the window, and it's now come down to we're just going to cook what we want to cook, man. Like we're not like we'll do the keyword research, we'll do the marketing mumbo jumbo afterwards. We will do what needs to be done in an effort to make it most likely that the video will be viewed. But ultimately, on the chance that the video is not going to be viewed, I would rather have just had a good time and then put work into it rather than just putting a whole bunch of work into something that I did not have a good time doing. And ultimately, like what better way to do something than just to do it because you're enjoying it. And I think that's what it comes down to a little bit. We talked about a couple podcasts ago, I think it might have been our first or our second podcast, talking about how you can iterate to be different than everybody else. And I think that's really important. But there does come a point where just being you does make a difference. That the X factor is the fact that you are you and nobody else is you. Because it might just be, yeah, people are talking about podcasting about success and stuff like that, but it might just be the way you say things. It might just be the way that you approach a topic. It's why some teachers, you know, it's really easy to learn math from some teachers, but other ones you can't understand. It's just the way that they teach it, it's just the way that they say it, and that's all there is, and that's the X factors. And I think when it comes down to it, you have to be willing to do everything just for you, and that's really, really hard, because I do still firmly believe in that second part of the creative process and understanding that we do need to share it, that is a very important part of creation. But if we can do it simply because we want to do it, not because we're worried about how it's going to rank in YouTube search results or how it's going to rank in Google SEOs or anything of that nature, then I think there becomes a level of authenticity to that you're not going to get otherwise. And I believe that is going to become very clear to the audience. That is going to become very noticeable that, oh, wow, this is truthfully something pretty cool. So that's just my thought. And that was inspired by, I was actually not only that walk and about inspiring change at the lowest level, but also listening to a Joe Rogan podcast yesterday. And he was talking about essentially how he didn't make the podcast and choose people to come on the podcast that he thought would rank well or that he thought other people would be interested in. He's just talking to people that he's generally interested in. And I think that's very clear in his podcast. And I think that is something that as we all continue to grow and as we continue to support each other, we have to remember is to keep doing what we love, and that we did this for a reason, right? Something inspires you to create this despite all the evidence to the contrary of why you shouldn't start something like this in 2020. Because something inspired you to do it. Something made you decide that this is what I want to do. I'm passionate about this. And I think maintaining that passion is important, because if you don't maintain that passion, if you don't essentially stay true to your initial insight that made you super excited, as we talked about in our first couple podcasts, then what's the point? What's the point of doing it? If you're not improving the world and you're not keeping yourself happy, there's really no point in doing it. And that's what I love about the All About How podcast is even on a day like this, I came into this podcast and I got to be quite honest with you. I didn't really know what I was going to talk about today. Today was just kind of let's just get on here and speak. I don't think we've had one of these in a while where I've been able just to come on here and just kind of talk about different things that are going on and different thoughts that I've been having regarding business and regarding starting up and stuff like that. And that's what I wanted to just kind of jump on here and do today, because it's what I wanted to do. I'm not super concerned with how this podcast ranks in the search results. You know what I mean? I'm just not. But this is what I felt that I needed to talk about. And if we're considering this being the All About How podcast, it is as much documentation as it is education. And so I want to document this as well, to know that when we look back on this, if people go back and review this, then they can see how things change over time. And I think coming on here and just talking because it's what I need to do will hopefully pass on some value to all of you that are listening. And I believe it will. And I believe that the authenticity that is inspired by this episode is useful. And if I'm telling everyone else to be authentic while still strategic, because I do still think that the marketing strategy is important, then I feel like I need to be authentic as well, and just kind of get on here and ramble a little bit. But you know what? That's okay, because that's part of what this is just the ability to share in the way that I need to share and to create in the way that I need to create. And then, like I said, hopefully that creation passes on value to you, the listener. And yeah, I know I appreciate you guys. I mean, hell, it's crazy out there right now with all the stuff that's going on, and the fact that you guys are still tuning in every day to give us a listen. That's really, really awesome. And I look forward to being here on day 100, day 200, day 300, and day 400 after that. So I do look forward to those days. So before we sign off here, I want to make sure that we get our fact of the day in. I had to double check this morning because I wanted to make sure that the site I was reading it from knew what they were talking about, because I was like, wow, is this really true? And it turns out it is. So the national animal of Scotland is a unicorn. Like the country's national animal is a unicorn, and the reason for that is because it's normally attributed with dominance, innocence, and chivalry, and it just has been attached to the culture, so that like the national animal they decided, even though it's fictional, is going to be unicorn. That blew my mind. I also need to make sure my girlfriend does not find out about that, because She's probably going to want to go move to Scotland at that point, but that's my own problem. So I just thought that was pretty cool, guys. I hope that you found that kind of interesting as well. But hey, I appreciate everyone listening today. This has been the All About How podcast with your host, John Knott from growingau.com. We're going to catch you guys tomorrow on day 11, and we have an awesome video planned for you then. All right, guys, peace out.